So the law minister gave a statement on the floor of the House and pointed out to the alarming rise in the number of complaints against judges which is being presented to the Chief Justice of India. He even pointed out that there are more than 8,630 complaints that have been received in the last 10 years. In-house inquiry mechanism that exists in law, do you think that is sufficient? And what do we make of the rising number of complaints before the Chief Justice of India?
So, rising number of complaints are for two reasons. One is, of course, that the quality of judges is going down and more people who are getting appointed should not have been appointed. So, that's one reason, of course. The second reason is that there are actually black sheep in the system and there is corruption. And of course, the third reason is that the disgruntled litigant always will say that the judge who decided against him was corrupt. So, you have to actually be very careful in ensuring that only the genuine complaints are looked at and the ones which are said by the disgruntled litigant should not be entertained at all. But having said that, I think this in-house mechanism in the long run is not proving to be effective at all, because in the in-house mechanism will result only if the Chief Justice of India or whoever does the in-house inquiry is able to devote enough time to look into every complaint and to do sufficient inquiry in each one of them to take a call as to whether they are genuine or not. I think the way forward has to be that there has to be a parliamentary law to regulate or to look into these complaints, and that parliamentary law should have sufficient number of independent people, maybe nominated by the collegium judges themselves, to ensure that the credibility of that inquiry does not go into the government hands. Because that's the most worrisome part. We don't want the government trying to denigrate judges who decide cases against them. So it has to be an independent inquiry, but there has to be a permanent solution, a more transparent solution, a solution which ultimately brings credibility to the judiciary rather than a opaque in-house inquiry where nobody comes to know what exactly is happening. And in many cases, I've seen that the ultimate decision taken when the Chief Justice of India or the in-house inquiry establishes some wrongdoing by a judge is to transfer him. I don't understand how a transfer can be a method of correcting a corrupt judge or a judge who's not working properly. Because transferring is basically removing the rotten egg from one basket and putting it in another basket and selling that other basket wherever he's transferred to. So I think it's important that the Parliament comes out with some law, which law should be aligned to the Judges Inquiry Act, so that if the law ultimately brings out some wrongdoing, then the wrongdoing should ultimately be taken to the impeachment process rather than simply, making a report, finding that there is wrongdoing, but simply transferring the judge or sending him to a less important high court, because that is not a solution as far as the credibility to the institution is concerned. So I think the government will be well advised to bring in a law, a parliamentary law, to tackle with regard to corruption in judiciary and ensure that the people who manage or who look into these cases of corruption are people above board, or at least not part of the government, so that there is full credibility to the process.